You're sitting at your desk on a Tuesday morning and the calendar is empty. The big project you were banking on just got pushed to next year. The referral pipeline that sustained you for 3 years has suddenly gone quiet. You feel that familiar tightening in your chest. You start scanning LinkedIn and drafting flurry after flurry of outreach messages. You might even consider lowering your price just to keep the team busy. If we haven't met yet, I'm Chris Spurvey, and I help boutique consulting firms break the feast or famine cycle and attract great clients like clockwork. I have spent the last 20 years in the trenches, personally selling more than $500 million in consulting services and leading 3 niche firms to successful acquisitions, including one to KPMG. My work with clients through niche consulting growth has helped them generate over $1.7 billion in revenue by focusing on systems rather than hustle. I've seen firsthand that the difference between a stressed founder and a scaling principal is the presence of a predictable system. This is the feast or famine cycle. To most boutique founders, this feels like a market problem or a sales problem. But beneath the surface, it is actually an architecture problem. Most firms are built on what I call the rescue mission model of growth. When the pipeline is empty, you launch a rescue mission to fill it. You work late and you network until you are exhausted. Then the work comes in and you stop marketing to focus on delivery. You disappear from the market for 3 months to serve the clients you just fought so hard to win. This creates a physiological and financial roller coaster that prevents you from ever reaching a state of calm authority. To escape this, you must stop reacting to your empty inbox. You need to start building a permanent business development architecture. We call this the opportunity engine. Sustainable growth for a boutique firm requires a fundamental shift from a push model to a pull model. In a push model, you are aggressively pursuing opportunities. So you spend immense energy trying to convince prospects who may not even be aware they have a problem. This is not just exhausting for you. It actually undermines your position as a trusted advisor. If you are chasing, you are a vendor. If you are being sought out, you are an authority. Think about the difference between shouting into a crowd and having a group of qualified leaders approach you because they already trust your expertise. The opportunity engine is designed to facilitate this shift by aligning your firm's outreach with a client buying journey. Most consultants try to jump straight to the proposal. They treat every interaction like a closing opportunity. But high value consulting is not a commodity purchase. It is a high trust transformation. When you align with how clients naturally make decisions, you stop being a vendor looking for a deal. You start being a guide providing a solution. This transition requires moving from the luck of the next referral to a state where you control the levers of your firm's future. You are no longer waiting for the phone to ring. You are building a system that ensures it rings with the right people. True clarity in your business development comes when you realize that trust is your only real currency. If you are the one doing all the work to find the client, the power dynamic is skewed from day one. You want to build a system that does the heavy lifting of education and qualification before you ever get on a call. This allows you to show up to every conversation, not as a solicitor, but as a consultant. You are there to help them decide if they even have a problem worth solving. This stance actually increases your win rate because it removes the pressure to sell. It replaces that pressure with a genuine desire to diagnose. Building a predictable system is not about complex technology or expensive software. It is about a repeatable sequence that creates clarity and alignment at every stage. There are 4 specific pillars you need to install to stabilize your firm's trajectory. So the first pillar is Resonant Hooks. Most boutique firms use generic messaging like we help companies optimize performance. To a busy executive, that is just white noise. An effective engine starts with hooks that name a specific problem your ideal client is currently feeling. You must be able to describe their pain better than they can. When you name the problem with precision, the prospect naturally assumes you have the solution. For example, instead of saying you do HR consulting, you might talk about the hidden cost of mid-level manager burnout. That is a specific pain point that keeps a CEO awake at night. It cuts through the noise because it sounds like a conversation they are already having in their head. The second pillar is authority assets. As a principal, you cannot have one-on-one coffees with every potential prospect while also managing delivery. You are the bottleneck in your own growth. The engine uses assets to educate your market on your behalf. These are things like short educational videos, white papers, or proprietary frameworks. These assets allow prospects to experience your expertise before they ever book a meeting. It creates a path for growth that doesn't rely solely on your manual hours. If a prospect watches a 10-minute video of you explaining your framework, they have already spent 10 minutes in a room with your brain. By the time they call you, they're already 50% sold. The third pillar is the diagnostic conversation. Once a prospect enters your orbit, the goal is never to close them. The goal is to diagnose. You must shift your stance from a salesperson to a doctor. A doctor doesn't try to sell you a surgery in the first 5 minutes. They ask questions to find the root cause of the pain. This builds massive credibility. It also ensures that by the time a proposal is sent, the client already feels the solution is inevitable. You aren't pitching a service, you are prescribing a path to health. This changes the entire energy of the sales process from a confrontation to a collaboration. The fourth pillar is fast lane and slow lane management. A common mistake that fuels the feast or famine cycle is discarding anyone who isn't ready to sign a contract today. If they say not right now, most consultants just stop calling. A robust system moves prospects into two distinct lanes. The fast lane is for people ready to solve the problem now. The slow lane is for people who need ongoing nurture. You should maintain a core 200 list of high-value relationships. These are people who might not need you today, but they are the exact right fit for your firm. You check in with them systematically to ensure your firm is the first call they make when their situation changes. You are staying top of mind without being a nuisance. I want to share two stories to show you how this looks in practice. I recently advised a founder of a specialized strategy firm who was a master of the rescue mission. He was brilliant at selling, but he only did it when he was scared. As a result, his team lived in a constant state of anxiety. They never knew if the next quarter would bring a windfall or a talent exodus. They were constantly hiring and then wondering if they had to let people go. It was a stressful way to live. We implemented a lead generation framework that focused on just 2 hours of engine work per week. We didn't ask him to become a full-time marketer. We just asked for 2 hours. 1 hour was for high-value outreach to his core 200. The other hour was for creating authority content. Within 6 months, the revenue volatility flattened. Instead of wild swings between 0 and max capacity, his firm maintained a steady backlog of 3 months of signed work at all times. He was working more hours on sales. He was simply working on them consistently. He moved from being a victim of his calendar to a designer of his outcomes. The second example involves a boutique technology consultancy. They were getting plenty of leads, but the leads were poor quality. They were spending all their time in discovery calls with people who couldn't afford them or didn't understand their value. They were exhausted by the diagnostic phase because they were diagnosing the wrong people. We introduced authority assets into their process. Before anyone could book a call, they had to watch a short video explaining the firm's unique methodology. This acted as a filter. People who didn't agree with the methodology didn't book the call. People who were looking for a cheap commodity provider saw the depth of the expertise and realized they were in the wrong place. The number of calls went down, but the quality of the conversations went through the roof. They went from a 20% win rate to a 60% win rate. They weren't fighting for deals anymore. They were selecting partners. This is the power of a system. It removes the emotional weight of business development. When you have a functioning engine, a no from a prospect is no longer a crisis. It is just data in a functioning machine. And if you are currently in a famine period, it is tempting to look for a quick fix. You want the one magic email template that will fill your calendar by Friday. But the most valuable thing you can do this week is not to send 50 desperate emails. It is to begin building the machine that ensures you never have a famine again. Professional consulting is not just about being good at the work. It means treating business development as a core operational function. It must be just as important as managing your billable hours or project delivery. It has to be always on. Start by identifying one area where your current process is purely accidental. Is it your lead flow? Is it your follow-up? Or is it your diagnostic process? Decide this week to systemize just that one piece. You do not need to build the whole engine overnight. You just need to stop the rescue missions. When you move from a rescue mission mindset to an engine building mindset, you don't just grow your revenue, like you reclaim your focus and your sanity. The transition from accidental to intentional growth remains the most significant shift a boutique founder can make. Take a look at your calendar for next week. Find a 2-hour block where you will step out of delivery to work on your core 200. That is the first step toward a firm that grows because you designed it that way. If you want to see how we architect these systems for firms like yours, you can explore the Boutique OS framework. It is the blueprint we use to help founders move from the roller coaster to predictable authority. Clarity is the first step toward a system that works. Let's begin.